Atlanta's #1 radio stations, Swanky 93.3 and The Heat 94.6 radio stations, has you covered. From our studios to our newsroom at K.L.P Entertainment. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more. K.L.P Aftermath with your host Kennedy Lucas brings out all the stops. Tune in to K.L.P Aftermath as we have stories, reviews, current events, and even our famous segment, Elephant in the Room. Inspired by the Breakfast Club's Donkey of the Day, K.L.P Aftermath with your host Kennedy Lucas streams on Atlanta's #1 radio station, Swanky 93.3 and The Heat 94.6 radio stations. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet.
You are now tuned in to Atlanta's hottest radio show.
And the other stations are tuned in too.
K.L.P Aftermath. Swanky. With your host, Kennedy Lucas. On Swanky 93.3 radio station. The Heat 94.6 radio station.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another exciting podcast today. Today is K.L.P Aftermath Season 5. We're still in our 5th season, but today is an episode where we change things up a bit in the studio. Now, if you guys have been seeing it on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, we promoted this, and now we're making this happen. This is the K.L.P Aftermath GDN GGC special, and we've got the special director, artist, creator. We were setting up the camera equipment. She was like, "Yeah, well, Kenny, I think the camera needs to be this way, right?" Because she still got that urge, that creative flow. Miss Ebone, Naye Songz, Liggines, yay!
Yes, sir. Hey, man, I appreciate you having me. This is dope. I'm excited to be here and catch up with you.
Yes, because we were in the parking garage, guys, and I was excited when we pulled up because you got a very, very nice car, by the way. I peeped that. I'm like, okay, going up. It's good to catch up. If for a lot of people that may not know who you are, I know who you are. GDN alumni probably know who you are, but to the fans that may not know, because we did over the years, they get some newer audience. They want to know who is this awesome person.
Well, I'm glad that you asked. I'm Ebone, Naye Songz, Liggines, director, producer, music artist, all the way around, just industry person, man. Like, I've been doing this for a long time, so I'm excited to kick it with you. It's been a minute.
Can I mess with you for a minute?
I mean, do what you need to do.
Let's cruise. I listened to that song when it came out. So,
that's one of my favorite records, and it actually got an opportunity to be selected to be a part of like the main soundtrack for a music show or a music movie kind of dedicated space. That was super dope.
That's dope.
So yeah, it was. Terry Vaughn was a part of that.
Ooh.
From what's that? She used to be Steve Harvey's little joint. So yeah, man, like it was dope. Everybody loves that record. One of my favorite records I've ever done.
So true story. I want to say that song came out 2019 or 2020, one of them years.
Yeah, it's like 19ish. Yeah.
I remember. So you actually, so it was you, and since this is a GGC alumni show, shout out to Ben Coker. Ben Coker showed me about how to rap. Okay. And, I rapped for a minute and I was like, yeah, this ain't for me. But when I saw you doing your thing, your music, Cruise is one of my favorites, and seeing it on Spotify, seeing your music video, I said, I want to produce music.
Wow.
And actually you, amongst other friends, were the people that got me to do my music, because
Wow.
we got a new album coming out, by the way. This is a shameless plug. We
Hey,
made it
do
in
your
New York.
thing. Okay.
Roosevelt's coming out. So my group, Swanky Aura. So it's Swanky Aura, myself, DJ Lupizzi. He's a new DJ that works for us. So I got inspiration to make music because of your style and your
Wow.
hip hop, your R&B.
Wow.
And I said, hey, I worked with this person
Oh,
before.
wow. That's
So to see that you're doing some
That's
dope
dope,
stuff
man.
like music,
wow.
I'm going to dabble into it. And then I studied a little bit about it. And then, I kind of took a break because 2020, we all know about 2020, and then
Man.
came back swinging with the music
Dope.
in 2021. So I think that's dope
Wow.
that when you're leaving a college and you're really still pursuing the industry, because if you guys don't know, we started from GDN, and we're gonna dabble right into GDN, and then we'll talk about GGC, because I tell a lot of my work colleagues, associates, that I do have a production mindset, and some of it I learned myself when I was 12, right? But I really got to understand the industry starting in 2015.
Nice.
I remember getting into the GDN story. I remember, and I think you were at this meeting too. It was me and my little brother starting 2015, GGC. We didn't know. And it was a film class. I don't remember if it was Dr. Rusnak. You remember Dr. Rusnak? Did you had her?
No. So when I was at GGC, they hadn't even gotten to start the film program yet.
That's right.
So it was like they were kind of seeing what we were producing over at GDN, because at the time they just had kind of like creative writing. So
I see.
they were talking about having a film program, but it hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So they started. I was like one of the first like student aides to go over and produce video content for Grizzly Athletics. And so it's like they're starting to see that content. And then I think I was telling Matt, excuse me, like, Matt, I need to be able to work. Like, I need to be able to get paid for this, because I'm a working college student at this point. Like, I can't do this for free. And so he was able to work it out to where Grizzly Athletics was getting funding, and so, they made it happen. And so we started to, in a way, having to pitch it like, hey, this could be a great opportunity for film students that's on our campus.
Right.
And so I think that's what even helped get the ball rolling even further. Like, you know what? We should do this. So I didn't get the opportunity to like kind of get into that film program, because by then I was graduating.
You were great. And I bet you were like, because I remember, because I was a little bit ticked off too, just a little bit, when it was 2019. I was almost finished. CMAP majors are now accepted. I'm like, oh, really? Like, I could have been. And I had professors, why don't you do that? I was like, well, I took loans to go to this school, so I don't want, So I ended up taking, and I don't regret it really, my business degree. It's worked out really, really well. Yeah. But going back 2015, me and my brother were in class, and I think you were at this meeting, because Matt, that was the first time I saw Matt Mahoney when he was talking about GDN, and I said it was a calling. It was like, you need to do this as a film guy. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. So fast forward, I went to one of the soccer matches, and we're going to get into the soccer matches and production side, because Ebone was here when it was the Wirecast days. We're going to explain that in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
I'm coming up nervous. And Matt Mahoney, he's taller than me. So I'm like, Mr. Mahoney, hi, my name is Kenny. And I'm nervous. I'm shaking out the boots, and I see you. I see Marissa. And I want to say that I saw Tamara. Shout out to Tamara.
Okay.
And you guys were the day ones. And well, a little bit of the day ones. I know Matt has talked about Myron.
Yeah.
I met Myron, but I haven't had a chance to really work with him in 2015.
When Matt kind of first started GDN, it was literally just me and Myron. And Myron was actually there first.
Interesting.
Because Myron was always running camera. So before you had like graphics and this and that, all these things, and we were just working on literally one laptop, Matt, anchoring, and then Myron on camera, and then me directing and producing.
Wow. So it was just like a three man woman band there.
It was us. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, shout out to Myron for sure, man. Definitely.
So I'm meeting him. He's like, well, nice to meet you, Mr. Patterson. And you know how Matt talks. He's like, because he's focused on what he's doing. So I'm like, yeah, okay. So I came back and I said to my brother, like, hey, there's a game tonight. We should go. So he was like, yeah, no, this ain't for me. I said, okay, well, you go find your calling, Ryan. I'm going to go and pursue this. And, I became junior videographer. And then the same road I took, because I took loans and I had to be a working college student too. Yeah. So I said to him, like, hey, I showed my skill. I got to get paid for this. Yeah. So I ended up getting paid and doing the things. Now, I mentioned, and we about to get a little nerdy a little bit here. So if you guys don't understand, stay tuned with us. But I mentioned you were there in the Wirecast days. Now, there was a famous saying that Matt always said, anticipate everything that something that can go wrong will go wrong. Matt, I didn't forget about that.
Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Absolutely.
It was so that was the year, the Wirecast days. We had and I think they still have those Panasonic cameras still. Maybe a little update, and they probably got more toys up there now. But explain to the people the Wirecast days and the internet and trying to get it together.
Man, trying to hardwire, get some connection outside. Yeah, 'cause that's where we were. And it was like with the press box, it wasn't. Well, for baseball, we had a press box, so it was like we had everything we needed, kind of there to kind of make it happen. I think the biggest challenge started to happen when we started doing the soccer games, and we really just had like a tent, all of our equipment. And, whoever decided to kind of show up and kind of run with us that day. Yeah. But I do remember, because I think your brother's like taller or something.
He is taller,
Yeah, so I remember seeing y'all, and I remember me and Matt even having a conversation, like, you came in hungry. You know what I'm saying? And then it was just like, okay, he's really interested in, because it's like sometimes you get a lot of people show up, but then you'll just kind of be able to read the room. Like, they not really. If
they're fiddling on their phones or looking away. Yeah. I remember because I was I'm sure Matt still has it, the big monitor where the director and producer would operate. And I'm like, this is production. Yeah. Right. And I think it stems from, not to jump ahead, but it stems from 2 years before that, we were on set of, what was that Shailene Woodley movie? Insurgent, that they were filming in Atlanta, and we were able to kind of see production side of that. I have a story about that too, if you want to hear. I'll go ahead and say that story real quick. So we were on that set, and it was a tiny elevator, and the director said, I need the extras on set right now. And that's the director speaking. So all women, extras, crowding into the elevator. And my brother was like, because he knows, like, he like, you all right? You all right, Lucas? I'm like, yep, I'm fine. It's just a lot of women just in one spot. So, but when we walked out and we saw the cameras and the computer screens and the set, I'm like, okay, I'm interested in that. Yeah. So fast forward in 2015, when I first saw GDN setup, I'm like, this is cool. And I didn't even think they did this at GGC,
Yeah, yo, it's so funny that you mentioned that, because for me, GGC isn't where I got my start in production. I was already doing this. I actually got my start in production. My mom forced me to take a video production class. This was like junior high. Yeah. And I didn't want to take it. Like I didn't want to take it. And so the way the classroom was set up, you had like classroom over here and then studio on the other side of the class. And I remember the teacher told me, he was like, well, if you don't want to go in the studio, like, you can just sit over here, watch TV. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and watch TV. And so all the students are like, okay, we're going to the studio. Everybody up, excited. And I mean, they run over there.
I would too.
Looking like what's wrong with them kids? Yeah. Like, okay. So I'm hearing all this commotion going on while I'm just trying to watch TV. And I'm just like, yo, what are they doing? Right. And I literally walk over there, and my face lit up like it was Christmas. Like, I literally peeped around the corner, and I saw the green screen. I saw anchors getting ready. I saw the cameras. I saw the control room, and I was just like, oh, y'all about to
to make a Marvel movie, huh?
And the teacher literally was standing there right there, like, so now are you interested? Okay, so yeah, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
And so
Pulled you
for
in.
me, that was that moment.
Mm.
And then we moved here to Atlanta, and I was like, okay, I'm thinking I want to be an artist, so I'm gonna get signed. Like Atlanta was booming with, for music at the time, so I was ready. But it's like music has always been my first love, but then when video started taking off for me, I always thought, okay, video is gonna be how I get my foot in the door.
Right.
So my first gig was working with this guy named Terry Miles and Shalonda McCarthy.
Uh-huh.
We were doing like podcast type content at the time before
cool.
podcast was even podcast.
Yeah, podcast popping now.
Exactly. So I'm like, and so they was working with Master P and Lil Romeo on the label. So I got a chance to be a videographer for their artist that they had signed in Atlanta.
Mm.
And so, and the label was called No Limit Forever. It was an extension of No Limit Records.
Yeah.
And so that was my first time I got to shoot a music video. I got to meet several different artists who was coming in to be interviewed. Just started just kind of going. And so that passion just started growing from there. It became like an itch, like, yo, I cannot shake this. And so fast forward to get to GGC, I was never really like always so interested in school. Like I wasn't a straight A student. Like that just wasn't my thing. Cause it was one of those things where like, I know I have to do this, but I really want to do production.
Yeah.
I really want to do production.
Yeah.
And so I was doing production at church.
Aww.
So I was running camera, and then initially got, acclimated with like being on the switcher and just all these different things. And so I moved to college campus. I was one of the first class. Well, I was the first class to be able to live on dorm because they had just built the dorms. They just built
them, yeah.
So,
shout out to the RAs. I was an RA.
Yeah, man, it was such a crazy experience. But it was like just sitting there, like, yo, I don't feel fulfilled.
Right.
Like I'm like something is missing. Like, yeah, we partying, we have a good time, we go to class, whatever.
Right.
Dining hall. Like,
shout out to dining hall.
Facts, yo. Like spent so many days in there, yo.
Always eating.
Man, but I was just like, yo, I'm missing something. And so sure enough, like I didn't even know we had an athletics department.
I didn't know that until when Matt met in our film class at one time. I'm like, oh, we got an athletic division here?
And so and that's great that y'all actually had a class to like for him to go and speak. We didn't have that at the time.
Oh man.
It was literally me just trying to like figure out I think I had got an email or something had came about like Grizzly Athletics. And I was like, oh, well, what's that?
Yeah.
So I started kind of digging deeper, and I immediately thinking, okay, athletics. Surely they need video content.
Right.
Like that. I don't know. I watch sports myself, so somebody filming.
Yeah.
So I go over there, I find it. So yeah, man, I go and I actually from my dorm, I walked over to the Grizzly Athletics like complex.
Yeah, that was me and freshman because I didn't have my car yet.
Yeah, like
so
I had my car. So I was just kind of curious, like just kind of walking one day, just getting some exercise. And I stumbled up on it, and I was just like, okay, well, what is this? So boom, I'm walking, I'm kind of exploring.
Yeah. And the building's very nice too. The facility is always amazing. State of the art.
I mean, beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Or what Matt say? beautiful.
Yeah, that's
shout out to Matt.
Yeah, man. But I remember like I finally just went over there, and I think I had just asked a few questions, in regard to video, and they're like, "Oh, you might want to talk to Matt Mahoney," and I'm like, "Okay, well, who is that, and where is he?"
Yeah.
Well, his office is just further down.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just peeping around corners, and I see, hey, you Matt? Like, hey,
is that how you did?
Myself.
Hey,
yeah,
you
like,
Matt?
yeah, like, hey,
I'll let you.
Let me talk to you.
Yeah.
And so literally, I just told him I was interested, and it was like from that moment, me and him clicked like day one.
That's good.
And he's like, okay, well, show up to this meeting, this, and so I showed up, and it was a green light from there.
Yeah,
like.
It was kind of the for me, it was similar, same story. We went to one of the soccer matches, and he said, hey, show up to a meeting. Came to a meeting. We had a talk. I was on board.
Yep.
Right. So it was a very interesting start to that experience with GDN. I enjoyed every moment of the starting point.
Mhm.
But now we get into us work study, and we take it a little, and we always took it seriously,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we take it a little bit more serious
For sure.
because now it's something on a resume. It's
Mhm.
something. It's your job,
Yep.
right? So it's something that potentially if you don't show up or show out, yeah, you could get let go. But
Mhm.
that was rare at GDN because everybody was just so interested
For sure.
in doing that. And one of my favorite things, and I guess we can go ahead and talk about this part because it lasted long, but it didn't last as long.
Mm.
And I'm saying the outside of the sports production side. So I'm talking media day. I'm talking
Mhm.
what was the show? Grizzlies Live at
Mhm.
Nukes, right?
Mhm. Love that.
Those were my favorites
Yeah.
because I felt Grizzlies Live at Nukes was, we put on a full show, like a talk show,
Yep.
in the heart of a restaurant,
Yep.
and we're interviewing coaches,
Mhm.
trainers,
Yep.
the athletes themselves,
Mhm.
and I want to say around 2015. I was a little bit nervous to talk to athletes because I noticed that there was a bit of a disconnect between athletes and students at that year. Now they've changed a lot. They've changed, but
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you, what was your highlight of all of the extra shows that we would do?
Wow. Ooh. My highlight.
Mm.
Honestly, I would have to say it was media day
Media day.
because for me, like I've always been into like basketball,
Mhm.
like NBA and stuff. So I've always seen kind of like their behind the scenes of how they do their media day.
Mhm.
So to get the opportunity to actually produce one, and I'm
Mhm.
talking about produce as in like pre-production. Okay, well, we need a list of players, questions or this or that, even creating graphics like the lower thirds. And like, I literally got an opportunity to create the entire thing.
Mm.
And so that was so dope for me because it was just like, I had never done that before.
Mhm.
And it's just like those type of moments kind of help, and just live sports broadcasting in general, like
Mhm.
continuing to dive into that opportunity even more. And Matt gave us the opportunity, me and Marissa,
Mhm.
and I think Myron went with us as well. We had went to like Orange Beach or something like that for the it was like a NAIA track meet or something, and so I got to
Oh,
produce that.
interesting.
Yeah, I got to produce that. I think Marissa and Myron might have been on camera or something.
Mm.
So that was dope. And so one thing I will say about Matt is like, although he wasn't like during my time,
Mhm.
he wasn't able to kind of get us jobs in the industry. He definitely made sure that we would like any opportunities that may have come about.
Yeah.
He definitely like tried to like push it to us.
Mhm.
And so it's like with those opportunities, it gave me that like, okay, maybe I can just dive into live broadcasting.
Yeah.
And so from there, I actually landed my first job like at Encompass, where I was working for AT&T Sportsnet.
Oh.
And so from there, it's
okay.
like I got to trim commercials for big clients like Wendy's,
heck yeah.
McDonald's,
Yeah.
Disney. And I even got to rebroadcast and trim Kobe Bryant's last professional basketball game.
Shout
And
out
so,
to Kobe.
yeah,
Shout out to Kobe.
most definitely.
Go on, do something.
So yeah, I'm like, so it's like Matt don't even know like those particular moments from GDN basically helped push me to start. You know what I'm saying? In a higher level of my career.
Yeah. I would say for that too, shameless plug. I'm sorry guys, but GDN taught me about production. Now it taught me production when making movies. So with everybody seeing my movies on Prime Video and Tubi, and they asked like, how did you learn that stuff? Like, well, some of it I learned, but hey, I was in sports production and broadcasting in college with GDN. So it kind of taught me ways of how to create things.
Yeah.
And shout out to him with that because it's a learning experience. And now I feel with the CMAT major, he's definitely, I'm sure he's pushing further projects to students right now at GGC. So as we turn the page, this was, I want to say it was 2016, right? For me, I started in 2015, and well, let me back up because relating to my favorite highlights, it is Grizzlies Live, but softball used to do this thing. And I think they still do it now where, because I remember when my first time going, it was 2015. They had, what was it called? Georgia Race for Autism.
Yeah.
So I like it how that was one of my favorite highlights, is having athletic department doing something and giving back to the community. And they're not looking at, hey, look what we're doing to make ourselves look good. They said, we want to do good for our Gwinnett County community.
The community, for sure.
And I remember, because I had met the coaches. So it was Coach Kat, which I think she's still there. And I met Coach Datko, which she left, and then it was Coach Matters, and then now Coach Datko's back.
Oh, okay.
So I met those two coaches, and I remember meeting some of the players that were in the same grade as me. They were very, very nice, but I was nervous because I was, 2015 Kennedy. I didn't have a haircut. And it was me, Marissa. I think we covered that, where I was the camera operator, videographer, and she was the interviewer. And to see the players get so nervous in 2015 is one thing I've noticed. Players are so nervous because they're so new to this, right? We've had a lot of, and which I'm still friends with a lot of them, international athletes, where, what is that? That's a camera. I don't want, those are the best memories if they're giving back to the community. I wanted to ask you, and because there was a video that's out for their page, and they interviewed us, 2017. What was your favorite part of GDN? And I joked and I said the food, but I'm slick not joking though, because the food at production. Matt, I'm about to put y'all on blast a little bit, because I hate Marco's Pizza. That's all we ate. That's not all we ate, but we ate that a lot because they were a sponsor.
For most productions, that was. You know what? I had never had Marco's Pizza until I started doing GDN.
Yeah, me too.
And then I love how you started seeing the growth, because I think at some point we started getting the Chick-fil-A boxes.
Yeah, the funding there.
Yeah, so it was just we went from pizza almost every production. And then sometimes we would get options, even going to the nuke, gotta eat. Yeah. So it was, I think it was just growth. And I think and just speaking on growth, we went from filming baseball games, softball, and then we included tennis, which was super dope. I had never did that before.
Yeah, we're going to get to that scaffold, and because I think that was in 2016. We're going to get there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, Nukes is very good, and I guess that's one of the part, because we're putting on a good show, but eating at Nukes, because their club sandwiches. Oh my God. Yeah. I was sad when they said, we're no longer filming Grizzlies Live. I'm like, no.
It had a good run though. Yeah. I think for me, Wednesdays, I think it was Wednesdays. Wednesdays would get here, and it's okay, we got to load up the car. We're headed down, and so I think for me, setup was probably my favorite part, because it was an opportunity for us to really all kind of work together. Like everybody knew they had a job to do, and we had to do it by a certain time, right? In order for us to even produce the show, right? So I think that was probably the exciting part for me, and then us getting to eat as a team, as a family, because I'm that's so important when you are in production. Yeah, you don't want to just always work with people. You actually want to get to learn people for sure. What are your hobbies? What are you into? Do you want to direct? Do you want to produce? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because it's at the end of the day, it's about us growing as individuals and, giving everybody an opportunity. Yeah. So that to me was definitely one of my favorite parts. Us just always being able to come together as a team, either before or after the production. Right.
And at Nukes, I had a lot of, as I grew up in GDN, I've had a lot of conversations with Matt at Nukes, hey, we can need from junior videographer, we're going to need to senior videographer. So now we're having videographers come in. I need you to teach them how good how dope you can do in videography. I need you to teach those. Yeah. Right. Same thing. Hey, Kennedy, let's say you're getting ready to graduate. We need a director. Kennedy, I need you to direct now. Yeah. Right. So it's a growing process. And those conversations I've had with Matt at Nukes. Yeah. So that's why that's going to always be a special place in our hearts when it comes down to it. So turning the page, now we're in 2016. 2016, there's just so much that happened. We can't cover everything, but we're gonna cover the highlights of 2016. Now,
let's cover the highlights.
Springtime, because I started in 2015 in fall, so now turning the page to spring of 2016, the next year, baseball and softball season. And if y'all don't know,
some of the longest
matches, hot spring, hot summer.
Man.
I've been cooked. I remember one athlete, I want to say it was Nicole Rodriguez, soccer player. Shout out to her. She asked me, was I okay? Because my skin, because it was hot. I've been cooked.
Wow.
I got dark. And I was like, yeah, it's just baseball and softball season. So, it is what it is.
Yeah,
so,
man. Yeah.
Wow. So 2016 softball and baseball season, primarily so baseball, because I play baseball. So I'm always going to be an advocate for baseball and softball, because I play baseball, and softball is kind of almost like the same thing as baseball, just a little bit, but just a little bit of different rules. But man, let's talk about some of those events. So we introduced it softball and baseball season, and then it went over to soccer that next year, but the scaffold.
Wow. That was a game changer, because it was like adding that scaffold. Oof. Oh man. Like, no, before we even get to the scaffold, adding the second camera.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I jumped ahead.
Adding the second camera.
Yeah. You talking about the home plate on the part? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. That was great, because one thing that Matt used to always kind of tell us is like, parents want to see their kids' faces. And it's so like, with the high cam, with the wide angle, we just see the play. We don't necessarily get to see like real like emotion or what's really going on, on the field. So adding that second camera just gave the production so much more life. I mean, and I think honestly it made people even tune in even more, because we were able to get like the dugout shots, or get close on the pitcher, or the this or that, like just get closer to the action. Yeah. And I think for a lot of viewers it connected even more, because it made you feel like you were actually watching like a real production, like that you would be watching it on TV or something, So I think then we get to the scaffold. Now that's just a whole nother it just seemed like you just constantly elevating. And so that shot, that was a whole nother game changer. Like, okay. And I think from a production standpoint, as a producer, it kind of makes you like a proud parent moment of like, wow, we're doing this. Like, we're growing. Like, I remember when it was just one camera. Yeah. Myron is like sitting in the window. Like, yeah. So yeah, like, so that was so dope. And shout out to Marissa, because like,
shout out to Marissa.
A lot of times when I would be directing and producing, she was like my camera, my camera person. And so we did not have like walkie talkies or anything. And so
the little headset that you didn't
we didn't have that. And so it was that's why it's so important to like communicate with your team. You know what I'm saying? And people really understand like their role and their position. And so like we would just have conversations, and sometimes like we would review like stuff, and so it's like, so people will kind of go and do homework and then come in, like they'll have their own plan of what they want to see. And that was so dope. And so as the person that's sitting behind the computer, being able to see the different shots, it excited me, because it's like, wow, you guys have been paying attention. And sometimes Matt would get us together, and it's like we're watching, just various productions or whatever, to help us get better at what we're doing. Right. So I'm like, we did not have any communication with the camera operators, but man, Marissa would be killing it.
Yeah, she
would be killing it. I mean, it's like I think me and Marissa's relationship really got an opportunity to grow, because it was like we started really clicking on like production.
Right.
And so it was just like I started being able to like lean on her more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I knew she was going to get the shot that I needed.
Right.
You know, and so it's like it's exciting for me as the producer because it's like I'm the one that's controlling what the viewers see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I can only give them what you guys give me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
True.
So to not have any type of conversation during production, it was all, I mean, every time we ended a production, it was always just like, God, we killed it.
We made it happen. We made
that,
it happen.
man.
One thing I liked about our team, 2015 and any year that I've done GDN, I liked.
Mhm.
But 2015, 2016, and a little bit 2017, I enjoy that class because we would have side conversations, but we knew we had a job to do. Right. So when we knew we had a job to do, we kind of stayed focused.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that I would believe that Matt Mahoney appreciated. Like, okay, they have fun, but they know we got to do good at this. Right. Because a lot of parents did tune in, and I'm 2016, arguably one of our best years because we added the scaffold, the 3 camera shoots at that point. We're trying to, I think we transitioned a little bit to TriCaster after that.
I remember hearing about that.
And viewership went up and numbers went up and everybody enjoyed what we were doing.
Yeah.
So I think that's pinnacle about our team is we're focused. We'll have fun. We'll talk later about whatever movie we're watching later on, but we need a job. We have a job to do.
For sure.
Especially, you knew pressure was on when Dr. Darren Wilson walks by. Shout out to Dr. Wilson.
For sure.
When he walks by with Ned Cogro, you knew, oh, okay, what we doing? Because that's the big boss,
buttons,
right?
Make sure everybody doing what they supposed to be doing.
Right. And that year was good too because for me, 2016 is when I became an RA. So at that point, I knew, okay, so I'm in college. I need to be an RA. And sorry, Sandrine, that was an old boss, director for res. I did it because it was free room and board.
Hey,
honestly, charged to the game.
Use your resources.
Resources. But I enjoyed that job as well. But I mean, it had some good benefits. So I had to balance that. And I wanted to give a shout out to Miss Erin Frank. She was the finance coordinator for athletics. And she noticed that, hey, well, yeah, you could do both. You just got to kind of balance both. Right. Because I couldn't get overpaid with work study, which makes sense. So shout out to her because she made it happen to where I could still do GDN and still do my RA stuff. Nice. I remember when we had the opener banquet in 2016, I know I'm jumping a little bit ahead of there, and I was able to attend RA event. And so then I said, Sandrine, hey, I have an athletics event. Can I go? And they was like, yeah, go. Have fun. And I was just like, really? Because I work in jobs today where, no means no, and bosses are a little bit more strict because we got to, and those set of people, they understood that, hey, he's a college kid too. Right. So shout out to them. That scaffold, it was either me or I forgot the other gentleman that we had brought on. I forgot his name, but it was me or him on that scaffold. And when we first got the scaffold, I was a little scared.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I was nervous because I was high up and it's like wooded floor. So my legs would give out because it's like we didn't have like a chair or a cushion. So it hurt. My knees buckled and it hurt.
Yeah.
And for baseball was worse because it was 9 innings. Man. Sometimes we go overtime.
What? Oh, gosh.
And I remember those nights where if we would go overtime, we didn't get done until about 11, 12 o'clock.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the double headers. I mean, just baseball from even to this day, when I hear anybody like, hey, do you want to go to a baseball game? No. I feel like I've had my time with baseball. I'm okay. I think producing it was enough because it's like, and then the weather is so unpredictable. And I remember that 300-footer cable that we used to have to constantly roll up.
Oh God, yes. Roll it up. I was
like, no, thank you.
You would see the athletes and their significant others and their parents would come out to the game. They're talking. They're all leaving. We're still chugging away.
I mean, goodness.
Everybody was exhausted.
Oh yeah.
And I was kind of the cheery spirit, right? Because I can tell, like, when you're fatigued and tired, you kind of get aggravated.
For sure.
Because I'm like that too, and I'm learning to not do that.
Yeah.
So I would make a corny joke, and this is. Want to hear another story?
Uh-oh. Let's go.
I think. Did you work with Chris Morales before? I don't think he came on yet, or he was starting to come on as you were kind of leaving out because of graduation and whatnot. I want to say it was 2016. It might have been 2017, but we got introduced to the word swanky.
Okay.
And they always used to joke with me because I would use the word swanky. And I turned it into a business with the radio station and my studio now.
So dope.
So shout out to GDN because they kind of help make Swanky Studios and Swanky 93, right?
I feel that.
So I would say the point of that story is I would say something so corny just to get people to laugh. And when you got Matt does this laugh where he kind of like, just a little bit, and he's like about to fall, and I was like, "Yeah, I know I made Matt laugh."
Yo, that's hilarious.
Because you remember his laugh, he was like,
"That is hilarious." That's hilarious.
So, and that's one of the things I would do, and everybody's laughing. It's like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
We're packing up,
yeah,
and I'm just like, "Hey, I made y'all laugh. I've done my job tonight."
And that's so dope, man. Because you're right. Like when you are tired, and it is late. We're just trying to get it done. And so, you do become a little more antsy and like,
Yeah.
But so, we definitely needed that energy to just continue to just make wrap up fun, for any production. Because it's like, we understand it's something that we have to do. And so, we still in a way want to have fun while we wrapping up as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
For sure.
We have to. So fast forwarding, a little bit still in 2016, but now hopefully we covered everything with softball and soccer because the same year now it's soccer season. 2016 was very, very important. I want to ask if you were still here at GDN at that point. We probably won't talk about like 2019 and 2020 because we ain't about to go there. But 2016 was very pivotal. Me being as an RA, I wanted to solve the problem that we were having where res life and athletics couldn't click. There's been some choice words that I won't repeat on this clean show, but I want us to solve that gap. And I knew in my gut, like if I help make change as an RA and as working as with athletics, maybe they can kind of come to our events. They can kind of click together. They can kind of, build that gap that was missing so that way we can have people come out to these games
for sure.
So 2016, and you can it's more of a question because I can't remember if you were there. 2016, both men's and women's going to Denver, Colorado for the NAIA championships. Matt says, "Oh well, GDN is not gonna be there. Sorry guys, we just don't have funding." A couple days later, I'm, working on homework, bored. It's November, Matt gives me a call. He's like, "Hey, Kennedy, what you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm doing homework. So what you doing tomorrow?" Probably nothing. I mean, we're kind of slow. It's Thanksgiving week, so everybody's kind of getting ready to go home. He's like, "So what you doing for the week?" I'm like, "Matt, what are you asking me right now?"
Right.
He's like, "You want to come to Denver?" I said, "Oh shoot. Is this what I think this is?" They had funding for us to go. So I had to scramble. I had to ask because I was an RA. So I asked Sandrine, like, "Hey," and this was not a lie, but this was something I had to sell her because I had a plan too. I said, "Hey, if I go to this trip, it's men's and women's soccer. I can build a relationship with GGC athletics. I can network, talk to them, have them come to our events, make them be more part of Res Life. We can make it happen. If you say yes. Yeah. If it's a no, it's a no. I get it." Yeah. She said, "Yeah, if you think that this can work, definitely go on this trip. We'll excuse you. You're fine." I said, "Yes." So I'm quickly packing up my clothes, and my brother's calling me to ask me a favor. I was like, "No, bro, I got to hit the road now because I leave tomorrow." Because it was like, pack today, we leave tomorrow morning.
Yep.
So I'm packing up, and I tell bro, you're gonna have to figure it out for a week. I'm going to Denver. I'd never been to Denver.
Yeah.
Been on a flight before. So I pull up, excited, geeked out. my luggage and the GDN equipment is ready to be packed in the bus. Men's soccer coming in. And at that point, they kind of knew me, but they didn't. They was like, oh, snap, Kennedy, are you coming? They're like, yeah, we going to be there with y'all.
Yeah.
Women's soccer. It's like, oh my God, Kennedy, are you going up with us? Like, yeah, I'm going. So we packing up and we're on the trip to Denver. This is a story. We had the black van that was rented to GDN. We didn't have power out there on the field. So we generated power from the van itself. And the joke is the first ever GDN production SUV, because it was like a Ford Explorer SUV that had power.
Yeah.
Plug it into the and then I think we still had Wirecast at that time. Wirecast, we had one camera, and me and Michael, shout out to Michael Day.
Hey,
it was me, Michael, and Matt filming the best we could. It was cold, and it was cold in Denver too. It was so cold. But we pulled it off. And I remember the point of the story I was going with this, sitting there playing Uno with women's soccer, and men's soccer was around us too. And I had that conversation, right? I was nervous because I didn't want to say anything offensive.
Right.
But I said, hey guys, I'm trying to build this gap between athletics and res life.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's important. So we had a nice, crucial conversation. I said, guys, this is what needs to happen. Yes, you guys are athletes, you're students. We get that. But sometimes y'all have to give back. Right. And then that leads to them coming to RA move-in, student move-in day and more events. And now we're bridging that gap. Everybody knows about the athletic teams.
Yeah.
And then, not going to go too fast here, but in 2017, 18, everybody was coming to the games.
And that's so dope, man.
Right? That's
so
an
dope.
impact.
That's so dope that you got the opportunity to do that. Because I remember when GDN didn't have funding, we would make it to the championships and everything like that. And we would have to sit there and watch the athletes get on the bus. Matt gets to go, and so it's just we don't have funding to basically take the rest of the crew. Yeah. And so that used to suck, because it's you'll work hard all season long, and then it's there's a drop off. Okay, well, y'all go ahead and do, the rest what y'all need to do. We'll be home when you guys get back. And so I remember Matt, I think it was Matt or Marissa, they had filmed some footage or something on the buses before the buses actually left. And then we just kind of picked up when they got back or whatever. So, but yeah, I remember that struggle of the games would be empty. I mean, students were not showing up. I think when we talk about, I think for us, that's why viewership was so important, because it's okay, if we start doing producing better content and the school actually starts getting involved and actually starts supporting, our material, then we can bridge a gap. We can talk about, having students come to the games and, really just start believing in Grizzly athletics. But I think for a long time, like I said, when I was there, I didn't know anything about Grizzly athletics until I was just kind of doing some research. So there were so many other students that, nobody knew that we had an athletics team. And so, and it's that's so crazy because we are all on the same campus. Yeah. So shout out to you for bridging that gap and being a part of that impact.
Because it wasn't, because a lot of people ask me to this day, why did you do it? It's not for ego. It's not for me just to say, hi, look what I did. No, it's for a organization to blossom and to grow. Because you look at, not trying to compare schools, but you look at Georgia State, Georgia Southern, UGA, they have such that great impact.
Absolutely.
Right? So I'm a firm believer that GGC might be GGU, Georgia Gwinnett University.
Hey.
And that's a cool thing to say, because as it grows, and it may not be next year, right? But as it grows, I want GGC to be a university to where they get more funding, and we might see a basketball team, right? We might see a swim team, right? Or a football team. That would be dope. And then that was a great impact. And then, to my own horn here, because I think he ain't no ego, but first ever GDN president.
Hey, there you go.
Right here. First ever. We got funding to be an RSO.
That's so dope, man.
But those are the impacts that we want to, we share these stories. And we want an organization to grow
Yeah.
to greater heights. And as you know, over the years, we've got newer people, and you know, I got to talk to a lot of athletes that are from the States and athletes from Sweden, Switzerland, Argentina, you know, to their relationship. Fast forward, I know I'm kind of jumping all over, but athletes in particular, you remember Jordan Cox and Valerie Pota? We all know they were going to get married. They were college sweethearts. They got married and they stayed at the hotel that I managed when I was in hospitality. So when they come in, it's like, oh snap, Kennedy, hey Kennedy, and it's just that relationship that we built. He's an actor too.
And that's what I'm gonna say. Shout out to Jordan because he was on P Valley.
He was on P Valley.
He was on
P Valley. My girl Shep Purcell is also on P Valley too.
Okay.
So it was very interesting to see that dynamic. How he played tennis, but now he's doing some dope stuff.
Oh yeah,
right?
most definitely. I was surprised. I was like, Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan. I saw him, and I follow both Valerie and him on Instagram. And I saw Valerie there in California for the screening, and she's having the time of her life.
Beautiful.
I'm like,
That's
wow,
dope.
like
Man.
college sweethearts plays tennis to superstar.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So those are the moments that we create, and you know, some athletes I talk to either on text or on Instagram to this day, like, hey, how you doing? Alyssa Melton, shout out to E. Talked to her as of recently to see what she got going on, you know. So those memories I like to create.
That's dope.
Because of that impact.
Yeah.
Right. No. But I think GDN's gonna be here for a while. We've had some dope experiences for sure.
Yeah.
I kind of want to turn the page a little bit about GGC.
Okay.
Now the college. Now we're gonna back out of GDN and talk about some GGC memories real quick. What was your favorite? And if you can't really remember, that's fine.
Okay.
We mentioned the dining hall.
That was my favorite place to go. I'm telling you, like, there would be days where I would skip class just to stay at the dining hall. And I mean, don't do that.
Yeah.
For y'all that's still going to GGC, don't do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I remember me, Tamaya, she was my roommate. We would, get some friends, and we would just be at the dining hall.
Just eating.
Because I think
having
for
a good
us,
time.
it was like, we didn't really have like a kitchen in the dorm room, so it was like you kind of had to eat at the dining hall.
Yeah.
So, and then the dining hall closed at like a certain time, which when I would tell people, they'd be like, what? Your dining hall don't stay open late? Not really.
Nah.
So yeah, it was like do I go to this night class or do I go to the dining hall?
Not advocating that to GGC students today.
No, definitely not. But yeah, like that was probably like my favorite place to be. Because for me, I've always been like kind of like a social person. And so yeah, everybody was just kind of, that was like the hangout spot.
Yeah. It was for it was for us RAs because it was free.
Oh man, I thought I should have been an RA.
Yeah,
y'all living life.
Look, guys, I'm not advocating being an RA for the free room and board, but I gotta say,
use your resources.
Use the resources that we had. So, we would go there. So it's always been me, my brother. Now, I would say that in 2017, I became an RA in 2016. He didn't become an RA in 2016. But when he did, it was always either me and him, my friend Alex, India, shout out to India. Shout out to one friend. Unfortunately, she did pass away a couple years back, Raga. She, and story about Raga and Alex and us, we went to Mexico together. I'm always going to remember that trip. So, rest in peace, Raga. But she would always be there with us too at the dining hall, eating and just having a good time, having a laugh and talking about programming, talking about what our residence is doing.
Yeah.
Those are the impactful moments. So the dining hall creates those memories. Every time I go to the dining hall, you remember we called them 5 minutes. I think his name is Ron. He flipped the burgers at the grill. Man,
shout out to Ron, because I was just saying,
give me 5 minutes.
Look, if I'm going in there, I'm going to the burger spot right off top.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm gonna scan the room a little bit, but I know one thing that's always gonna be perfect.
The
is
burgers.
that burger. Yep.
Every time we go and get a burger or a chicken sandwich, all right, I got you. Give me 5 minutes. So we called him 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Because he always said, give me 5 minutes.
That's funny, man.
Memories. Memories. He followed me on Facebook too.
Wait a minute.
He did. I'm like, I don't know about that because I was a college student at that time. So I'm like, I don't know about that. But 5 minutes. It was either that or the hibachi spot. They're amazing.
Yeah.
They cook it just the hibachi. They cook it just right.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Would you like rice or noodles?" You know, not picking on him like that, but it was just like because he cared about the type of dish that you want. So the dining hall, the dessert bar.
Yeah, I'm like, we spent just too much time. And shout out to the staff. It was always clean. You know what I'm saying? So you felt like, okay, this is a nice place to be in. Like, it was clean, it was good.
Yeah.
Like, it was just always a good time at the dining hall for sure.
Were you there when I want to say it was the subway on the outside of the dining hall?
It's not ringing a bell.
I remember they had it. They had it when I started in 2015 and a little bit 2016, but they took it out and they put something else in there.
I'm about to say, I don't recall. I just recall like the dining hall, and then I think it was like C building or something where they had like Chick-fil-A. I think was in there.
The
it was like a smaller. Is that A? That might it might be A building.
Woo, I can't remember.
That was like
a long time ago.
But yeah, like they had like a little. It was kind of like another kind of cafe kind of area.
I do remember the So what was it? Chick-fil-A.
Maybe, I'm like maybe Panda Express or something. I don't know.
I do remember.
Like
I do remember Panda Express because I used to eat that a lot, and I needed to stop because I was getting kind of fat from that.
Nah, I feel that.
And then what was that building? B building where the big G is on there.
Yeah.
Oh, and what was in that one? Einstein's and. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I mean, this was years ago.
It's like I can see the building.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, dang, it was food in there too. Like,
yeah.
I don't remember.
Shout out to the food. Shout out to. I can't say shout out to Airmark because I've been reading articles about what they've been doing lately, so I ain't gonna give them a shout out. But Airmark did sponsor, or assuming I don't know if they're still doing it now, but used to sponsor food for GGC when I was there.
Okay.
So you mentioned Res Life. So what was the years you were in Res Life before you moved out, if you can remember?
Well, so once they completed the dorm, whenever it was the first year that the dorms actually opened, I stayed on campus up until maybe junior yearish, because it seems like once you hit junior year, it's like you kind of gotten like that dorm life out of you. Like, okay, I've stayed on campus. I know what it feels like. I would rather kind of have my own space. Yeah.
I feel you.
So yeah, but it was a great time. I mean, I don't have any complaints. We got a few noise violations.
Yeah, I did too. Because when I was an RA. Oh gosh. So the first year I managed all male, and what they try to do, or at least they used to try to do, is where if you identify as a male, then you would manage male residents. If you identify as a female, then you would manage females. Now I'm sure they changed some things because of today's society for sure. But I remember one year they forgot to tell me. Second year I managed male and female. You want to know what the female residents were?
What?
Athletes.
Oh wow.
They did that on purpose. Like, Kennedy works for athletics,
right? So
he's gonna manage these. It was a softball player and two soccer girls. Okay. So I was like, yeah, y'all knew what y'all were doing. It's okay, but y'all knew y'all were doing.
That's funny. Okay.
I've had some. I'm trying to figure out. Well, okay, we can say it because we're grown. We've been through some parties. They threw some parties at GDC.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
You'd be crazy if you don't think it happens.
Yeah, it's interesting how. Now, this was before I was an RA, by the way. But it was very interesting because it was my first college party. Now they didn't have like all that like drugs or anything like that, but it was just like a lot of people crammed into a room and dancing and it was college.
Yeah.
I left quickly because there was just too much people in the room. I was like, yeah, this ain't for me.
Yeah.
And me and my friend Connor, shout out to Connor. It was his first college party because we were freshmen at that time. He was like, yeah, no, this ain't for us. This ain't our scene, buddy. Because we were so young at that point.
No, I get it.
The programming was amazing, being an RA programming. Shout out to Miss Lori. Have you seen Miss Lori when you were? I don't think she didn't start yet.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You remember Dr. Boone, Kyle Boone?
His name sounds familiar, but I can't
He was the director of Res Life, not anymore, but he was there when I started. And he remembered everybody's handshake because we all have a unique handshake.
Dope.
And his thought process about Res Life was so amazing because he was a doctor. He has his PhD. So lately I saw him on, I forgot what college that he went to work. He worked at a new college. He cut his hair. He had a baby. I'm like, oh, Dr. Boone, because he had the dreads, right? I'm like, Dr. Boone, he's stepping up a little bit. He changing some things. So sorry, I'm just resetting record here. But it's amazing that, Res Life, when we were residents, they're different than residents now, right?
Most definitely.
And a lot of people have a lot of different outtakes of Res Life, but I always will love Res Life for sure. They have my heart.
Yeah, I mean, for me, staying on dorm, that was a big moment for me because that was literally the first time I had got an opportunity to kind of live outside the house, my parents' house. So, to be able to meet a lot of different people and just kind of, you really become like a young adult. And so, sometimes when people move to college campuses, they end up abusing that opportunity. And then, a lot of things happen. But for me, it gave me the opportunity to, in a way, even show my parents, I'm responsible. I can be on campus because I had my car. So I'm I was still doing what I needed to do, as far as school. But I had my car. I didn't take my friends everywhere.
Yeah.
So it was a dope opportunity. It felt like I had my own apartment. And because I actually had the dorm room style that had 6.
So I think you're right. 2, they have a 2, 4, 6, an 8.
I think
and a 12.
Yeah.
Freshman year, I was in a 12.
Really?
Oh my God. They were a little bit smaller. I had the bump, but the suite I was in at that year was hot.
Wow.
So I was like, oops.
Yeah, I was a little nervous about what? Staying with 6 girls? Oh my goodness. But luckily, man, I got some super, super dope roommates. It was a great time. We all clicked. It was, we had fun. It was dope, man. We had a lot of great moments in there. So it's it wasn't as bad as I was thinking it would be.
All right. So I gotta ask, and it's okay if you may not remember, because some of the professors I don't really remember. But if you could name just quite a few, if you can, your best favorite professors that you had at GGC.
Let's go with Professor Gibson.
English teacher?
Yeah.
Oh, I love her. She was amazing.
Yep, super dope. And Professor Jerry, it's a woman. Her name is Jerry. I forgot her last name, but I had her for a summer class one year, and I had got into a situation towards graduation to the point where I wasn't gonna be able to graduate. And so actually I'm gonna just tell this story since we're here to talk about it. I've actually never told this story
live
on. So
we got the exclusive,
for
y'all.
sure, yo. So listen. So it's I think 2016. I'm taking my capstone class.
Oh, those are hard.
Yeah.
Very hard.
And so luckily though, for my project, basically I had to create a website about myself. And so I created the website. I had added all of my accomplishments and everything that I had been kind of doing thus far, just the whole thing. And at the time I was still also writing content. So script writing and, I was literally producing content outside of school. So I was showing like my professor, like we would have like check-in marks or like by a certain date you had to have like this portion of your capstone project completed. And so that way, you know, just kind of kept track, make sure you was doing what you needed to do. And so I had showed my professor like the final kind of rough draft of my website, and everything was good to go. Turned in my capstone project.
Yeah.
She told me that I had plagiarized it, and she failed me.
Whoa.
I had to have a meeting with like the GGC board. Like it was a whole thing.
Yeah, that's like a case.
Yeah.
Like a case
Yeah.
bill.
Yeah. It was an entire thing because they couldn't understand, like, number one, how did you even learn how to like build a website? That was the first part of it.
Ooh.
We actually had a website class.
Yeah.
It was like a beginner's website class at
We
some
did.
point.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't even understand how y'all are asking. This is the stuff that I learned from class,
Yeah.
and now I'm bringing it to my capstone project.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, but what about all of these kind of like accomplishments? Like, this can't be your work. Like, you're still a college student. And it's like, well, yeah, I'm a college student, but like, I'm literally walking in my field like right now.
Yeah.
And so I literally had already had a job in my field before I even graduated.
Yeah.
And so she failed me for my capstone class. And I was devastated.
Oh, I would. I've learned website building when I was in high school.
And so it's like, so it wasn't like rocket science.
Yeah, it's not.
But I think because it was
weird.
done at a level of like, oh, you did this? As if like you couldn't do it. Like this is too good to be you. Like, you're still growing, you're still
It's
a
kind of
student.
discrimination.
Hey,
okay.
man, it was so crazy because like the following semester they didn't have that capstone class available. And so it's like I had to wait the following semester. And so I became so discouraged, and I was just like, Lord, I am not staying to one class.
Yeah.
I'm about to just say forget it.
Yeah.
And then I was literally having to have constant conversations with God, like, yo, we really came this far just to walk away empty-handed.
Yeah.
And it's like, but God, it's not fair. Like, you see what's going on, and it's like, but come, like, just trust me, I got you.
Right.
But like, I really need you to do this.
Yeah.
So they had a capstone class for the following semester. It was a night class. I'm like, are you serious?
Oh shoot! And
I
those
hate night
6
class.
to 10 o'clock. Oh my! I took a few of those. Oh my god!
Goodness. I mean, just the longest time of your life.
Yes.
It seems like. And so I was like, oh my goodness. So I just went ahead and signed up for the class. And I went to it was time to go to the class. So I went, and I had Professor Jerry. Now, I had Professor Jerry like a few summers back for a summer class. I think it was either a writing class, or English, some literature, something. But showed up, did my work, no problem. So she saw me, and you know, we went through the whole class, and she walked over like, hey, I would like to speak with you after class. So I'm like, oh gosh.
Oh god, what now?
What? Yeah. Right, like, oh, here we go. And so after class, everybody left, and she was like, I remember you. She was like, I remember your work ethic. You were well on your way. You should have been done by now. What happened? And so I told her. Yeah. And she was like, I'm so sorry that we failed you. Yeah. Like, failed you as a school. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so she literally was just like, I'm gonna work with you to where, you know, your assignment is gonna be a lot different from what the other students are doing. And I was so appreciative like of that, because it was just like she didn't know that I was getting ready to like tap out. Yeah. Like, I was just I really can't do this. Like, I'm literally, I want the degree, but I'm getting ready to just walk away from it. Right. And so I was so grateful for her, because it's just like, wow, somebody says, hey, I remember you, because your work ethic, you were already walking and working in your field. Like, and I think at the time it was so rare on our campus to have people already knowing what they want to do and actually be walking in it. Yeah. So for her, like, she really, it was just such a dope moment, because I was like, wow, I appreciate you believing me, and furthermore, I appreciate you seeing me. Yeah. You know, because I had felt like it was a moment of like GGC in a way having to stand with their I guess, professors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And here's the kicker. I almost forgot this part. Capstone project. I'm sitting at graduation,
Mm-hmm.
waiting to still see the grades. I'm looking at everybody around me. Everybody is able to enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
They're getting ready to graduate.
Right.
The president at the time even had me in his speech because I was one of those students that already had a job in their field.
Right.
And I'm sitting there. I couldn't even enjoy graduation because it's like, yo,
The anxiety.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even know if I've passed this class or not.
Yeah.
And I got to walk and everything
Yeah.
just to find out I have to retake a class.
Yeah.
So it's like
That's
I got to walk.
devastating.
What?
Devastating.
So it's like I got to walk in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't give me my actual degree until 2017. So it was like, it was the craziest experience, but it just taught me to like, don't stop.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't.
You know,
I'm really glad you
me
didn't.
too, for sure. Like,
But I would understand that too, because, you know, especially, and I don't know the job market today, but a lot of jobs rely on, if you say you got a degree, they're going to research you, make sure you do. Because a lot of people now, they can rely on that.
Yeah.
And that could have cost you a career
definitely.
because of that. Now, thankfully, that it's not happened, but that would have been very, very devastating. That's interesting. I did not know that.
No, nobody. I don't. Matt doesn't even know about it. So when I say that you're getting the exclusive,
he will today.
Yeah, like listening. For real, because it was literally a moment, man. Like I felt overlooked. I felt like it was just a big discouragement because it's just like, wow. Even though I'm a college student, y'all don't know, like I've literally been grinding. I've been doing this for a very long time. Yeah. And so when you read, like at the time on my website, like, oh, I'm a videographer for Master P and Lil Romeo. And it's like, well, these are like industry names that people kind of know. So what we're in Lawrenceville. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I think a lot of that kind of stemmed around like, how are you able to work with these industry kind of elite people, and we're over here in like Gwinnett County, you know, still trying to become something. And so like it was such a crazy moment, but it was just like, I think that moment definitely helped me propel to just like, yo, don't ever stop what you're doing. Like God is gonna show up. Trust him. You know?
Trust me, he does. he showed up for me.
Yeah. So I mean, but it was one of the most uncomfortable positions I've ever had to be in. But it's like I don't have any, you know, malice towards GGC or anything. But it was just like that moment sucked. Yeah. You know, and it's just like, and so I was so happy when I did hear about, you know, the film program that they have now, because it's like, now we get to bring real industry opportunities, you know what I'm saying, back to the school. And this is stuff that these students can put on their resume. They're going to get the opportunity to work on big projects. And, you know what I'm saying, just really start being a part of what's going on.
I would love to, if let's say the president now, Dr. Jan Joseph, I was going to ask you, I'll ask you in a second. I really wish they would, I hope maybe one day they'll reach out to people, because me and you were in the industry. We might be independent, but you know, you've got your music out there. Do you have an IMDb page?
Not yet.
You should get one.
Yeah. I'm That's like, amazing. I haven't even, there are so many things that I need to do that I haven't done.
I'm going to research. I'm going to send you how to do it, because I got mine couple days ago. They still have me as an actress instead of an actor, so I'm like, hey guys, I'm a man. Actor please. But me being in that and our films being on Prime and your music out there in the medium, I really want, and maybe the GGC, hopefully they're listening, reach out to us alumni that are in the industry that can kind of contribute and teach students how to be in this industry, how to go about it, because we're in this society now that it's all about networking instead of about education is important, but it's the network.
Actually, what I want to do is I definitely would love to speak to the president, and you know, I'm excited to go to the GGC mixer that's coming up.
March 15th, guys, we'll be there.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely gonna be in the building. But I want to talk to the dean. because I do
do
want to
too.
bring opportunities to the students that's there. Like, I have content that I want to produce.
Mhm.
I currently work for a company called K.L.P where I handle all of their video needs.
Mhm.
And so I would love to even come on campus and shoot some content with them, and
I'd love to.
you know, just really want to just be able to give back and just let these students know, like, hey, even though you might feel like, oh, I'm out here in Gwinnett County, like, we're gonna bring some opportunities to you
Yeah.
guys. You know, so that's
Mhm.
definitely something that I want to like really lean into this year.
Yeah, I wanted to lean to that, and I remember in 2020, and again, it was a hard year. Shout out to Felicia and Taylor. They're also GGC alumni. They tried to start a radio station at
Mhm.
GGC, and so we were booming in 2019 when it comes to I did this show called the Grizzly Talk podcast. So it was where I had 2019, I was working in hospitality and I had my own house or
Mhm.
apartment, and I had to kind of step away from GDN because, hey, I got big bills coming up.
Nah, for real.
So I started podcasting on campus,
Mhm.
and everybody was like, I saw your show.
Yeah.
You're dope. And I felt like that quote unquote campus celebrity because everybody would come, hey, good show last
Yeah,
week. I heard your
nice.
show and I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
people
dope.
are really listening.
Dope.
And then a little bit of stems for, because I remember Matt tried to do a podcast called the Beyond the Glory podcast.
Yeah, I remember him.
That was
spoke about
interesting.
That. Yeah.
I really want him to bring that show back, and I
Mhm.
would love to help him and kind of show him some things about that, because it's
Yeah.
I love the show. But they started the radio station, and they had a professor, Dr. Elgin.
Mhm.
Shout out to him. They're trying to put it together, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
Right. And ever since then, I haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
So I would love to show them, hey, this is how you do radio.
Yeah.
This is how you broadcast radio. This is what you say on radio.
Yeah.
This is how you do it. And I think it's a very interesting market,
Mhm.
because we can bring that tool to students. We can get the equipment to
Yeah.
students, and they
Yeah.
really understand it, because guess what? Radio station and podcasting, that's the latest thing right
Yeah,
now.
it's hand in hand,
Everybody's
for
doing
sure.
it.
Yeah.
So I feel GGC has something going, but there's a way for them to keep going forward.
For sure.
Right. And I feel they need GGC alumni who is
Mhm.
in the industry
For sure.
to kind of help them with that and
Yeah.
guide them and kind of take notes. And, it could lead to more jobs.
Yeah.
If
definitely.
GGC reached out to me today and said, hey, we want you to be Dean of Multimedia, Kenley, would you do it? Absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely.
Absolutely. Because
Definitely.
this is the market that we're in now.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's not going anywhere.
It's not.
If anything, it's going to continue to evolve and just continue to grow into something that's even bigger.
Yeah.
So, because I'm like, radio has been around for a very long time,
Mhm.
and then now people are starting to add cameras and this and that. Like,
Mhm.
it's literally becoming a
Mhm.
full blown production.
It is.
So,
It is.
yeah, definitely.
It is. I did see GGC get involved. They have a podcast. They're on Spotify, and they got Spotify
Okay.
video, which is great.
Okay.
But it's like, y'all need equipment.
Mm-hmm.
You need a better condensed mic. You need a mix board.
Yeah.
You need these things.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have anybody to really show them.
Well, yeah, like,
So-
it's gonna take us to reach out. Like,
yeah.
hey, we saw
AKA
your show. Let us
GGC,
come in
give
and
me a
help.
job, okay? Gosh darn it.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Put it in motion.
So we covered GDN, we covered
Mhm,
GGC. Based off the stories, like I said, we won't dabble in 2019 and 2020 because those were kind of off years a
Yeah.
little. But it's good to see that you're doing well, number one.
Oh yeah, definitely. Always thriving.
Appreciate you coming on the show. Like I
appreciate you
say,
having me.
shout out to Georgia Gwinnett College, shout out
For
to
sure, for
Dr.
sure.
Jan Joseph, shout out to Mr. Matthew Mahoney,
For sure.
GDN crew, shout out to all the, and I'm going to be sharing this to all of the athletes that I know personally and say, check this show out.
Uh-oh.
So that way they don't miss out. Because we talked about some athletes in a good way. Talked about some athletes on this show. Where can they find you on social media, Ebony?
Oh man. So on Instagram, Naye_Songz with a Z. If you're on Facebook, Naye Songz. iDreamProductions.com. So on Instagram is Naye_Songz with a Z. If you're on Facebook, it's Naye Songz. Check out my production company, iDreamProductions.com. I mean, I'm sure if you just type me in the Google search, I will pop up.
Don't you love that? Okay, so I'm not narcissistic, but so my buddy, because he said the same thing he's like, hey, you know you're on IMDb, right? So I did that, and I Googled myself, and I'm listed there. Like, you can clearly see all my stuff. Like, oh, that's kind of neat, but kind of narcissistic.
Nah, it's dope.
But it's dope because you're Googleable,
Yeah, absolutely. And that just lets you know that you're making your impact. You're leaving your mark.
You are.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think a lot of times, especially like in media, especially like parents for a long time, they thought that this was like a hobby. And so now when it becomes a situation where this is something that you can actually get a job in and make some really great money and create some really opportunities and then be a part of some really great opportunities. Like, I'm sure if I Google my parents, they're not going to come up the way I would come up. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, I don't even know back then, like growing up, the fact, you can type in a search engine, I don't know, Whitney Houston. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, like, wow.
20 billion pages.
Yeah. So it's just like to now be a part of that space where somebody can Google you and you pop up and, your accomplishments and, whatever kind of media you have out there. Like, it's a dope feeling.
It is a dope feeling. So, it's such a dope feeling. Guys, check Ebone Naye Songz out. Her music, iDream Productions. Shout her out. Hit her up. And if you are a GGC alumni, again, come to the GGC mixer sponsored by the School of Liberal Arts. It's going to be March 15th. Don't miss out. We will be there. K.L.P. Kennedy Lucas will be there. Ebone Naye Songz. Liggines will be there as well. So please come on out for that. That's going to wrap it up for our podcast show, ladies and gentlemen. The K.L.P. Aftermath GDN GGC special on our radio stations. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching the video version on our YouTube at K.L.P. Entertainment. And if you're listening on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Podcasts, Audacity, and so much more, we appreciate you guys. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Until then, from our studio here in Atlanta, K.L.P. Kennedy Lucas, Ebone Naye Songz Liggines. I always like to say, stay safe, stay swanky, peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet.
You are now tuned in to Atlanta's hottest radio show.
And the other stations are tuned in too.
K.L.P. Aftermath. Swanky. With your host, Kennedy Lucas. On Swanky 93.3 radio stations. The Heat 94.6 radio station.
K.L.P. Aftermath with your host Kennedy Lucas brings out all the stops. Tune in to K.L.P. Aftermath as we have stories, reviews, current events, and even our famous segment, Elephant in the Room. Inspired by the Breakfast Club's Donkey of the Day, K.L.P. Aftermath with your host Kennedy Lucas streams on Atlanta's #1 radio station, Swanky 93.3 and the Heat's 94.6 radio station. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more. Atlanta's #1 radio stations, Swanky 93.3 and the Heat 94.6 radio stations has you covered. From our studios to our newsroom at KLP Entertainment. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more.